that means it stands for something. All right, MAD stands for Mutually Assured Destruction. What that was a policy, so to speak, was that if the United States or if Russia was going to launch a bomb, that means we were going to launch a bomb right back at them. So the mutually assured destruction thing was basically saying, if you launch something at us and you're going to destroy us, we're going to launch something right back at you and we're going to destroy you. If everyone gets destroyed, there's no point in even doing this. And that was a policy they held for quite a long time. They were hoping that this would deter the other from using an actual nuclear warhead, a weapon of mass destruction, so to speak.
All right, next, the other reason that the Cold War was huge during this time was, as we got up on top, communism. All right, up to this point, communism, the spread of it was the worst thing, the absolute worst thing that could happen for the United States. All right, this nice regal-looking gentleman up on top is Dwight D. Eisenhower, also known as Ike.
Called that, not really sure, but during his election campaign, they had little buttons that said, "I like Ike." So everyone called him that. He was a general during World War II. He was elected president in 1952, and the reason that the policy toward the USSR changed and during communism changed was because Eisenhower thought that Truman dragged the United States through a lot of needless skirmishes and warfares, just things that all that they did was drain our resources.
We weren't going to dominate and win and kick some butt, okay? We just get drawn into them and we'd be there for a while. We've got Korea as an example. Things that, and no one ever really won, okay? So Ike, what we've got here, he favored a policy that built up our arms, okay? You want to get pumped, all right, guys? Build up our arms. Or that kind? No? Not doing it for you? Okay, you're right. It wasn't these arms, okay? It was nuclear arms, all right? He sacrificed our conventional forces, like I said earlier, which are, the troops, the ground troops, machine guns, things like that. They weren't really focused on developing those. What they wanted to do, get planes, submarines, nuclear weapons, all right? Now, there was two schools of thought on this, all right? The conservatives said, this is going to weaken our defense, all right? If we don't have troops, how can we defend ourselves? Liberals said that preparing for nuclear war just made it more likely. If all you're going to do is build nuclear weapons, that means that's what we have to use when war comes. So, anybody have a thought? What do you guys think on that? Yes, no? Think about it? All right. I'll ask you that later. So this kind of scary looking dude down on the bottom there, I don't know if he's got something wrong with his eye or what, but that's John Foster Dulles. Okay, he was the Secretary of State under Eisenhower.
He's a pretty important guy. He's pretty smart, pretty well respected. He helped organize the United Nations after World War II, so it's a pretty big thing. It still goes on today. So we've got a guy who knows what he's talking about. Okay, so what Dulles did was he announced Eisenhower's policy of massive retaliation. All right, how many of you guys saw G.I. Joe, Retaliation? New one? Anybody? It was okay. I want to see it. Can't if you want to. You like action movies, they're probably good.
Okay, so massive retaliation was a policy that if the United States was threatened by a superpower or another country, essentially, what they were going to do was basically threaten to annihilate that country with any force possible. The actual phrase that they used, the United States would respond to threats by threatening to use crushing, overwhelming force. All right, so this isn't a, hey guys, if you come at us, we're gonna swing our wiffle bat at you until you leave, or do little fights like that. Okay, that's not what they were doing. They were gonna come over there with their nuclear weapon, put it down their throats, and say, eat it, and you're gonna like it, and too bad. All right, so lastly, we come to brinkmanship. Why is brinkmanship important? What does this word even mean? You guys have any clue? Why don't we break it down a little bit?
If you go to the brink of something, what does that mean? Go to the edge, all right? So if I were going to stand
on this desk right here, and I stood right on the edge, right on the brink of the desk. The U.S. said, how are we going to prevent war? We're going to prevent war using this term called brinkmanship. Okay, we're going to go only by going to the edge of war Okay, so only by going as far as we can possibly go to the edge of war, without actually going to war, that's the only way we're actually going to prevent war. All right, we can protect our allies, discourage the communist aggression. The gist of what we get out of this, okay, that we did some pretty crazy things, okay? We got in an arms race. We invented a bunch of bombs that, yes, they were good in the fact that one of them helped us win us a war, but it's bad because we ended up fighting. I put fighting in quotation marks because this was the Cold War, okay? There was no hot battles, okay? The United States and the USSR did not fight one skirmish during this war, which is the reason it's called a Cold War. All right, but this dragged on for over 40 years up until Reagan was president. All right, so we've got from 52 all the way up until the mid 80s and late 80s. So, what? Oh, perfect. I can edit that out, don't worry. I'm at 14 minutes, is that what you said? Okay. All right, so we've got, wait, hang on. Cut. All right. Start. All the way up to the mid-80s, right? We have Reagan finally ending it, okay, with this plea to Gorbachev, you know, tear down this wall, Mr. Gorbachev. You guys, I'll have you listen to that quote, that speech. It's really awesome. He's standing on top of the Berlin Wall. Amazing. All right, so let me throw this out to you guys. All right, what do you think is the proper way to handle this? Is this the right thing? Should we have had a different policy during this time? Is brinkmanship the way to go? All right, obviously we can't change the past. That already happened. Okay, but if you were in Foster Dulles' shoes or Eisenhower's shoes at this time, would you have done that? Would you have focused on nuclear warheads? All right, would Soviets have developed nuclear warheads if we weren't first? Who's to say? All right, it's one of those, you know, what if questions. All right, and that's what makes history so important, why it's key, because we can look at this stuff and go back and say, all right, here's what happened, and it probably wasn't the right thing to do, okay? So we can avoid this in the future if we remember our past. All right, and once again, just a quick, brief 15-minute introduction to the Cold War. We'll get more into that tomorrow. We're actually going to talk about Sputnik, about NASA, why all that stuff's important. And I'll start off with the clip. It'll be funny. You guys will laugh. So that's it. That's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.